Howdy! Welcome to the Say Cheese Podcast. I'm your host, comedian and cheesemonger Jeff Buck. Today, sitting with me, we have cheesemonger Charles Davis.
Hello. How's it going?
Charles, previous guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
With the Holler Hocker episode.
Yeah. I'm in the Two Timers Club now.
Two Timers Club, you and Jane.
Yeah.
The only two.
Pretty big
the
deal.
Two coworkers
Yeah.
at DTLA Cheese. Yeah, we did Holler Hocker before, but today we're eating a pasteurized goat's milk cheese called Detroit Street Brick. And this cheese is comes from the Zingerman Creamery in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Yeah.
And we both had this cheese before.
Yes.
Right? I'm assuming you've had it. I know
Many
I've had
times.
it. One of the first artisanal cheeses I had that one of the first I've had in general, and then one of the first I've had that made me fall in love with the cheese.
It's actually the
cheeses.
same for me. It's my first cheese job.
And I'm proud. I feel like it can be, not to discriminate it, whatever. Not to discredit it.
Diminish.
But it does kind of seem like an entry level cheese, for a tamer palate.
Yeah, it's a gateway cheese.
Gateway cheese, yeah. But I'm proud that I did Detroit Street Brick and not Humble Fog. A lot of people, their basic go-to cheese is Humble Fog. I feel like Detroit Street Brick is a little of a spiced up version of Humble Fog.
Yeah, it's a little tweaked. A little more interesting.
But we'll get to that. So let's get into more about where this cheese is from and who makes it, though.
Yeah.
We're just going to jump right in. Actually, you know what? We don't have to jump right in, Charles. How are you doing today?
Oh, it's cool. No rush. No rush.
I feel like I need to just start asking the guests more about how their day was before I just get into this podcast.
My day's going really well. I'm in the middle of at the beginning of a 3-day weekend.
That's good.
Which is nice.
You got a massage planned for later today.
I do, yeah.
And I got one yesterday.
A little rub down.
Great. You'll feel relaxed. I had one yesterday. I felt so relaxed. Never had one before professionally. It's the first time.
The first time's always weird.
Yeah, it was cool.
I hope they were gentle.
Yeah, gentle. I kind of wanted them to be rougher, to be honest. I've got a knot in my back that I just need someone to just fucking drop elbow on from the high
pile
ropes
driver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be vocal with them. I've learned that over the years.
Yeah, I guess I should.
Gotta let them know.
I was nervous. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'll just lay here.
It's all about communication.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, let's get back into the cheese now that we got our massage out the way.
Yes.
That was important. We had to get it on the pod.
Got to talk about the rubbing.
Yeah, always. It's just ever since middle school, me and my friends always talking about our rubbins. All right, we're getting canceled already.
Yep.
Let's get into
you.
it. So this cheese is from Zingerman's in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Ann Arbor, for those that don't know, we'll get about Zingerman's. I know you're anxious to talk about Zingerman's, Charles.
Always.
As am I.
Always.
But Ann Arbor first. Let's talk about Ann Arbor. You lived there.
Yes, I did for about 5 years.
Awesome. Oh, 5 years. Yeah. That's a long time. For those that don't know, Ann Arbor is about an hour west of Detroit, right?
Yeah.
And it's a big college town. Home of U of M, University of Michigan. Did you go there?
Wolverines. I did not. My wife went to grad school there.
See, I grew up in a Michigan State household. My parents are Michigan State alumni, so I was bred to hate U of M. So I should be careful what I say.
That's okay.
Because we're doing a Zingerman's cheese. I know that's Go Blue Loyal Company.
They actually have a T-shirt at Zingerman's they've been making for a while. It's the block letter. It looks like a Michigan T-shirt.
Yeah.
Blue and gold. Or I think it's maize
and
blue,
it's
technically.
A block of Zingerman?
But it says Zingerman's.
Oh, that's cool.
But I did have many coworkers, some of whom trained me, that actually went to Michigan State. So they're not completely intolerant.
Yeah. It seems like a decent school.
Yeah.
I just, again, you grow up in a college household like that.
Well, thankfully, I know little to nothing about
hate speech.
Football or sports. So you know, go team.
Right. Yeah, go. It's the same way to do. Last podcast we did, we had the LSU game on while we were recording, and I was like, "Oh, this is a celebratory cheese." We did the truffle brie, and nice. I was like, "Hopefully LSU wins because we're eating this cheese regardless," and we won. But yeah, it is. Tangent real quick is that it was almost like hate speech that my parents threw out against U of M for some reason. It was such a deep rivalry between Michigan State and U of M. I had a buddy one time. We grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, though, but they just went to school in Michigan. And so a buddy of mine came over when we were kids, and he had a U of M shirt on. And he came over to eat dinner at my house, and my mom made him eat dinner outside. like would not let him in the house.
Oh man.
So I applaud her a little bit for that, but I don't know if
it's
it
good
made
to stick
me.
to your guns, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a like a good example to set for me. I was just like,
Yeah,
we can
not
be
teaching
mean to people.
tolerance.
Exactly.
Not teaching tolerance.
But
we
no,
also
I
had.
noticed.
Was there the whole? Did they hate Ohio as much as like people in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, I
did?
think it just seems like they hated everybody.
They hated everyone.
Everyone
Okay.
that was in the Big Ten or whatever.
They sold shirts in Ann Arbor that had the shape of Ohio, and it said "worst state ever" in the middle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's a Midwest thing. You just hate
I
your
guess
neighbors.
So, yeah, so strange. That is funny. They do hate their neighbors in the West. But also, cool thing about their football team or college campus, the stadium in Ann Arbor is the largest stadium in the country.
The Big House.
Yeah.
I actually lived, like a half mile away, so we could actually sit on our front porch and hear the games going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a 109,000 seater or something.
Yeah, it's big.
That's wild.
I went there one time, and it was to see a soccer game with teams from outside of the United States playing. So I've literally still never been to
A football game.
a football
That's
game
fair.
there. Yeah.
That's funny though. What about? Okay, so I've been reading up on Ann Arbor. I visited it once, I think, when I was a kid. But I was trying to read some cool stuff about it. Ferry doors in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Those are things.
Yeah.
Little tiny doors next to big door.
Yeah, they're little tiny doors that I don't want to spoil this for any kids listening to the podcast, but I don't think there are a whole lot of kids listening to this podcast, but they're not real.
What?
Sorry, Jeff.
What?
They don't actually. I'm sure
just
there are
stop
some
the
of
podcast. Just stop the fucking podcast. I had 30 more minutes on ferries and how they tie into cheese, and you're gonna tell me they're not real, John?
Not real doors. No, they're little doors that people will put next to the actual entrance to a business or to their home, and it's actually just attached to the wall. But they get pretty ornate. It's not just a door. There'll be a door and a little mailbox and some plants and maybe a
kinda
little dog.
Decorate it.
Yeah.
Show you what the ferry's life is like a little bit.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. It's kind of fun. Does anyone? I feel like there's got to be more than just Ann Arbor does that.
Yeah, there's actually a ferry door on my street in Pasadena right now.
Oh, really?
It's the only one I've seen since Ann Arbor, though.
Oh, that's
so
cool. Yeah, I kind of
maybe
want to
they
do a ferry
followed
door
me.
here.
The ferries.
Oh, there you go. See, they are real.
They are real.
And they're
Sorry.
out to get you. They're evil.
For spreading lies about them.
Bob Seger is from Ann Arbor. Another thing
Right.
about Ann Arbor, like a rock.
Like a rock.
Yeah, that's the only song we know.
Yeah.
I can't think of another Bob. And honestly, like a rock, I feel like I only know it so well because of the Ford truck commercials.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean when I don't want a pickup truck, I don't need one, but every time I hear that song, I get this little urge.
Yeah.
Maybe I need a pickup truck.
That's funny. Ann Arbor, they also have their own twist on Mardi Gras. I'm from Louisiana. We do Mardi Gras big, but they have their own twist there apparently called Festifools and
Yes.
Full Moon. Are you aware of those?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. People do a bunch of kind of paper mache puppetry.
Yeah, I found a
and-
picture here.
There you go, yeah.
It's like a paper mache French guy in the street.
And a lot of them are lit up. It starts in the afternoon, and then a lot of them will light up at night. So yeah,
That's
Ann
cool.
Arbor, for how small it is really into their like street festivals. I
Yeah.
feel like every other weekend or month there's
The
a
more
big
I was
street
reading up on Ann
festival.
Arbor, the more impressed I was about them.
I loved it.
They were one of the first big recycling cities.
Oh, yeah,
Before recycling
yeah.
school in like '98 or something. They got like awarded something for
That was
being like
before my time.
one
But
of the more green efficient cities.
yeah, that does not surprise me. They're very cool that way. Very progressive.
Yeah. All right. But enough about Ann Arbor as a whole.
Yeah.
So Zingerman's, this cheese creamery.
Yes.
More than a creamery, though. Zingerman's is in Ann Arbor, and you work there.
Yeah.
And I want to know, in your own words, describe what Zingerman's is, because it's more than just a creamery. It's like they got a bakery, they got their own coffee company, barbecue joint, candy, and so on, right?
Yeah, so it's Zingerman started out as a Jewish deli in 1982.
Yeah.
And tiny little building, which is now over 100 years old, on the corner of Detroit Street, which we'll get to later.
That was like a significant building too. I can't remember what the building was before it was their deli, but
It was a shop. It was like a grocer.
yeah, and I
before
think
that.
both the owners. It was founded by Paul Saginaw and Ari Weinswig.
Weinswag, yeah.
Weinswag. Yeah.
Yeah.
He often likes to joke about how his last name is impossible to pronounce.
Yeah.
Which I finally get a pass. I think we got some heat on our Holler Hawker episode.
We did.
Because I couldn't pronounce the cheesemaker's name.
Right.
And,
which is okay.
People came for our necks
They
on
did.
that one.
They did.
But, hey,
I'd
whatever.
like to reiterate that we were laughing at you.
Yeah,
and
my
not
ignorance.
at the
Again,
name.
I say it many times. I went to public school in Louisiana. My principal was an alligator. The only way I got out is you wrestle him, and then if you beat him, you graduate. There was no reading.
I want to go to that school. That's awesome. That sounds like a good time.
We had a lot of fun.
Did you get light beer instead of milk at lunch?
Yeah, but it still came in a bag.
Yeah, a bag or a carton of beer.
Yeah.
Come get your carton of beer.
But yeah, I guess the two founders, Paul and Ari, they worked near that building. I think Paul worked at a fish market like across the street.
They did. They had various jobs around there during college. They both went to U of M, I believe.
So they got that building, 1982.
Yeah, 1982. It was a deli for a long time. It still is a deli. And they gradually started bringing in specialty foods, nice cheeses, prosciutto when you were finally able to import that, oils, vinegars, and it kind of grew. It's a tiny little shop, and they completed right around the time I started there in 2011. About a year and a half later, they completed a build out. So now it's a huge complex that is able to serve a lot more people than it used to. But still same spirit. Amazing Reuben sandwiches that lines around the block for on football Saturdays.
They're tied to their. I'm so bummed. They're so tied to the community, and they're so transparent with their business model as well. Ari, I had the pleasure of meeting Ari multiple times. He's come down to. He visited St. James Cheese Company in New Orleans, which I believe the owners they loved his business model and tried to model theirs similarly, or kind of adjust their similarity to his. He came and gave us some books, which I'm like peering over the camera right now because I'm like I can probably see it on the bookshelf over there.
Yeah, he's got a few books out, 4 or 5 now.
Yeah, I have one of his like handbooks on like how to be a good like customer service worker.
Yeah, Guide to Giving Great Service.
That's the one. Yeah, yeah. It's weird propaganda.
Yeah.
But it's good propaganda.
I definitely drank the Kool-Aid if indeed there was any Kool-Aid to drink.
Yeah, it's not the word. I mean, look, we're all going to join a cult.
Right,
why not join one called Zingerman's?
If you're going to join one, that's the one.
Right.
No, they're great. So yeah, the deli opened, and gradually over the last 30 plus years, they've opened a coffee shop, a creamery, a bakery, a coffee company, a candy company.
Oh, their candy bars are so good.
A really good restaurant called the Roadhouse that does amazing barbecue and American food.
I think they were like a James Beard Awards finalist.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
And they also do they have a company called Zing Train that actually teaches other businesses, probably like St. James too, like how to model themselves after that.
Yeah.
What they do.
It's crazy, man. But cheese. They also do cheese so exceptionally
the deli
well.
And mail order. Actually,
I feel like did the cheese come first after the deli? Was that like their first like?
Yeah, the main goal of the deli was to open a place to get really good corned beef Reubens,
Gotcha.
like old school Jewish deli Reubens. There was always some cheese there, but it definitely grew over the course of many years. And the cheese counter there is amazing. There's just like a wall of cheese stretching down about 20 feet.
Do you know why they called it Zingerman's?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I do too.
Yeah. So they actually were about to open. I think they were a couple days, 5 days away from opening or something like that. And they were going to be called Greenberg's Deli after an old lady that used to buy fish from them at the fish market. Some guy calls them. They pick up the phone. And he says, "Hey, can I speak to the owners of Greenberg Deli?" And they go, "This is them." And he goes, "You can't use that name." And they go, "Why?" He goes, "Because I'm Mr. Greenberg." So evidently he had a deli somewhere in Michigan and told them they couldn't use the name because he already had it. So they basically they were already getting the neon sign made or something like that. And they basically had a
deadline
late night crunch session that involved thumbing through a phone book.
Yeah.
And eventually someone suggested that it should have Zing. The name should have Zing.
Nice.
So they were like, Zingerman's. Sounds Jewish. It also has Zing, literally.
And they said that like it will be easy to find in the phone book because it's got a Z.
There you go.
And not a lot of things start with Z.
Exactly. It'll be at the end of every list.
Cool. Yeah. It's just a word. They're just Zingerman. Yeah.
Yep. A lot of people call them Zimmermans. I think my dad still calls them Zimmermans.
Yeah. Is Zimmerman's a thing? Sounds like it could be a thing.
I'm sure there's a Zimmerman somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not an uncommon last name.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then maybe that's what I'm
Bob
thinking of.
Dylan's
Zimmerman.
real last name is
Really, Bob Zimmerman,
Zimmer,
Robert Zimmerman,
Zimmer, yeah, something like that.
Bob Dylan, aka Robert Zimmerman.
Yep.
The piano man. I think like it's so crazy. It's so crazy that we just regurgitate memes into like.
Oh yeah.
Into jokes out loud, but I saw a meme recently that was just like I guess it was technically a tweet that someone just like screen capped, but it was like I don't even know who tweeted it, but it was like, for a song called Piano Man, this guy playing the harmonica won't shut the fuck up.
That's a good point.
That's pretty funny. Okay, let me read this real quick. I want to read this.
Please.
Rather than replicating their deli through franchise model, Paul and Ari instead chose to develop new independent businesses, all rooted in our local community that work together as one organization. Each business is operated by one or more managing partners who share ownership and put their particular expertise to work in the day-to-day running of their business. The idea for I think is Zingerman Companies of Business, or ZCOB, I can't remember.
Yeah, ZCOB.
Yeah, ZCOB.
Stands for Zingerman's Community of Business.
That's what it was. Thank you. Was laid out in Zingerman's 2009 vision, written by Ari and Paul in 1994, and highlighted in Bo Burlingham's 2003 article for Inc. magazine. In 2006, the ZCOB managing partners began to work on Zingerman's 2020 vision, which it's 2020 now, guys. What's going on? It was completed a year later and paints a picture of the ZCOB at the end of the next decade. Zingerman's 2020 vision was featured in the New York Times article from June 2007. So cool, man. They're putting it up there on the vision board.
Yeah, visioning is a big part of that.
But they've always had that vision of like expanding within the community and having their own companies that are an umbrella of companies, which I think is so rad.
Yeah.
And they execute it flawlessly.
Yeah, the idea is that if they, franchised, and did a deli in Chicago and then one in, wherever, Austin, Los Angeles, that, it just wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
You'd eventually lose the quality. Lose the service, which is a big part of what they do.
And I know listeners are probably like, why are you guys just going on about this company, Zingerman's? Who's paying you? No one's paying us, okay? Oprah loves Zingerman's, okay?
There you go.
It's true. She said one of their sandwiches was rated 11 on a scale of 1 to 5.
Yeah, I believe it's... I forget which one.
Which sandwich it is.
I think it's a barbecue. I think it's one of the barbecue sandwiches.
Regardless...
Yes.
Oprah loves it. We love it.
Yeah.
It's worthy of the time to chat about.
They also, the deli in particular taught me everything I know. A lot that I know about cheese and service and caring for cheese and selling cheese and talking about cheese. So,
yeah, if you, I work with Charles every day, and he seems like a pretty good guy, so they must be doing something right.
I was a real dick before I started at Zingerman.
Listen, man, wrestling and alligators teaches you a lot, okay? But it seems like whatever school of thought you went through worked out just fine as well.
There weren't alligators involved, but
so now let's get to the cheese specifically.
Cheese, yeah.
Detroit Street Brick. This is a 2006, 2007, 2012 American Cheese Society winner cheese right here.
Yes.
3 winners, maybe even more. Those were just the stats that I saw. I don't know if it was fully updated since when it was written. Delicious cheese. It is a molded goat's milk cheese. A lot of molded cheeses are a little mushroomy. Maybe we'll find that when we taste it. It's aged for 2 to 3 weeks, so almost just under a month. It's aged at. It is pasteurized, and it's shaped. We only have like a small wedge of it though, but it is shaped like the square cobblestones that it is named at. So it's called Detroit Street Brick. Maybe we should just focus on that.
Outside the deli, there used to be an old like trolley car system in downtown Ann Arbor. And part of that were these bricks that have been in the street, which they actually just redid last year or something like that in Ann Arbor. But the bricks have been there for like over 100 years.
Okay.
It's a big part of the downtown Ann Arbor kind of landscape. A lot of the streets still have old bricks.
That's what I'm going to ask you about. Is it so the bricks are there? Because I thought I read somewhere that they were paved and then they were like, the bricks were kind of restored. and now preserved.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that worked out. I do know that certain areas that were all brick are now just concrete
Okay.
or asphalt. But there are definitely parts that either are still brick and have been for a long time or have been restored. But the corner of it's Detroit and Kingsley, where the deli is.
Yeah.
This was
This
kind of
still
named
has the
after
cobblestone bricks there.
Detroit Street brick.
Awesome. And it's called Detroit Street.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's a cool shape. Definitely looks like a cobblestone brick. It's I would normally talk about what we expect when we eat this cheese, but we both know what it's gonna kind of taste like. Yeah. So we can just go ahead and start cutting into it and eating
Let's do it.
But I will say you brought some jam here.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that jam a little bit?
Sure. I don't know all that much about it, but I love this company. It's someone that we worked closely with when I was working at the deli. American Spoon, which is also a Michigan company, do some of the best preserves I've ever had. You can find them at specialty shops. I believe DTLA Cheese has carried it before as well. But this is the Early Glow Strawberry Preserves. So I feel like the strawberry and pepper thing is going to work out.
First, I'll take a bite of this without the jam.
Yeah.
To really kind of remind myself the taste.
I'm going to join you.
Oh, yeah. I guess I didn't describe that there is green peppercorns within this cheese.
Yeah.
Very important part. Cracked green peppercorn, and that definitely comes out. You almost get like a spice.
Hand-milled green peppercorns from the Cardamom Mountains of India.
Oh, hand-milled peppercorns from the Cardamom Mountains.
And while I'm reading
India.
this, a quick shout out, if I may,
Yeah, please.
to my former coworker Tessie, who now works at the Cream Top Shop, which is the little retail shop that's attached to the Zingerman's Creamery, which is actually a separate location from the deli.
Oh, cool.
But I got in touch with her before this. I wanted to kind of brush up on my Zingerman's Creamery cheeses since it's been a while, and she sent me some information and write-ups. So that's how I know
Oh man,
where the green peppercorns are from.
that's cool.
We're going to try it with the
You
jelly
said
now.
Cardamom
Cardamom Mountains in India.
Mountains in India.
And these are green peppercorns.
That paired with that jam
Is that working?
is perfect. That is so
go for
good.
it.
That's a great jam right there.
Yeah, their stuff is amazing. I mean, most of their preserves you could just eat right out of the jar.
I know, I might.
If you were. So
It's got a little tang to it, and that might be because we've been letting this one sit out for a while. A little tanginess, but savory at the same time, like a citrusy tang.
Yeah, the green peppercorns give it that citrusy brightness. But
Yeah.
the thing I like about it is you start getting, all those little bacteria and mold are, a lot of them are producing ammonia. And there's always going to be slight ammoniation in these bloomy cheeses.
Yeah.
It's always there. It's just a matter of how much is there. And then the cool thing I like about this is that brightness just melds with the pepper. You almost can't
You can't tell where it starts and ends.
distinct.
Yeah.
It's
No, I
great.
agree. And it's not very mushroomy either. Like I said, a lot of molded cheeses are.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have that to it, which I kind of like. I kind of prefer it to not be.
Yeah.
And it's it's so good. We should have got more. Charles, we sat there at the cheese shop, and you're like, "Yeah, I got that
Yeah,
wedge
is that
right
enough?
there."
Is that enough?
You think that's enough? And I was like, I don't know,
not
man.
enough.
I could eat so much of this stuff. It's so good. But it's probably best that we didn't overindulge ourselves.
Can I read this little excerpt from
Please.
From Ari's blurb about this? It's not a blurb,
Please
it's
do.
a write-up. Let's see. We'll start here. The Detroit Street Brick, the cheese, is made from gently pasteurized milk from New Era Farm in Onondaga, Michigan.
Onondaga, Michigan.
Yeah, it's about 35-minute drive from Ann Arbor.
Okay, cool.
It's laced with bits of dried green peppercorns from the Cardamom Mountains of India.
I do like how he describes it as laced.
Yeah, he's
Because
a good
usually
writer.
Yeah, but usually when you hear something's laced with it, you immediately just think drugs.
Yes, exactly.
But
this cheese is gonna.
It does make me feel some sort of way. So, anyways, go on. Sorry.
Then it's aged for a few weeks with a soft, white, bloomy mold on the outside. The softness of the goat cheese contrasts nicely with the citrusy spiciness of the green peppercorn.
I'll stop you again. It is a very light, bloomy rind. You can almost see through it. Almost like it's not even. It's barely. I don't know if I can show that.
It's only aged for about three weeks. So
it's barely a rind on there at all. Okay, continue.
Yeah.
Just wanted to keep reiterating.
The softness of the goat cheese contrasts nicely with the citrusy spiciness of the green peppercorns. It makes a great grilled cheese, and I love it melted onto pasta. Yeah, right?
Oh, man.
Melted onto pasta, too. That's interesting. It's really fine on roast beef sandwich or use it in a Greek salad instead of feta. You could use it in an omelet. It's very good with smoked salmon. I can attest to that. It's amazing.
Oh, I bet. Or like salmon and lox.
Exactly.
Or,
we've spread this guy on a bagel many times.
For sure. That would be great. Also, I could see it easily a substitution of feta as well.
Yeah.
Like in a pasta. That makes sense for sure.
There's more in here, but that's the gist of the cheese.
That's awesome. It's such a good cheese. I mean, what do you think of the cheese? How would you rate it on your own personal scale of whatever scale you want to give it?
It's hard. I've had an attachment to this cheese for 8 years now. Yeah, almost 9. And it's been made pretty much the same way since I first had it. And they've tweaked it over the years. I think it's gotten even better than it used to be.
It's so good, man.
It's a little creamier than it used to be. It's a little more rich. Mm-hmm. As far as a rating, I'm gonna give this a 9.
9 out of 10.
Yes,
that's a good rating. You're following the scale. Oprah's out here breaking scales, giving 11s out of 5.
No, you got to stick to the scale.
But I would say I almost agree with you there. I would give it like maybe 8.5 to 9. Yeah, it's almost a near perfect cheese, and it reminds me of family. I got family in Michigan, so every time I eat it, I just think of them. It's got the name Detroit in it, and I loved 8 Mile.
There you go. Yeah,
8 Mile. By the way, the movie 8 Mile, there was a character Cheddar Bob in that movie. He shot himself in the foot. He's like, I do have a friend, Cheddar Bob. He did shoot himself in his foot.
That's right.
And I think I would love to see Zingerman's. I doubt they'll do it. Or like any cheese company or creamery in Michigan.
There should be a cheese called Cheddar Bob.
They need to make a Cheddar Bob cheese,
There absolutely has to be.
We need to make a cheddar called Cheddar Bob. I'm putting that out there in the universe. It's like The Secret or whatever. I think Oprah endorses that too.
Yes.
If you say it, it will be real. Someone please make a Cheddar Bob cheese.
We're putting it out in the universe.
Maybe I'll have to do it.
Oh man. I was actually when I moved to Ann Arbor, I didn't know anything about Michigan or Detroit or that region, and there are tons of roads stretching out of the Detroit metro area. Yeah. Named after how many miles outside the city they are. Yeah. So I started seeing things like 49 Mile Road and 25 Mile Road. I was like, oh man, that's what I didn't know. I don't think I ever saw 8 Mile Road. I don't know where exactly that is, but
12 Mile, I think
But you'll see signs on the freeway for 12 Mile.
Yeah. Yep, that's how it goes. Interesting, Charles.
Yeah.
Oh, I figured it out.
Oh, it's like moving from LA. It's like one of those things where.
No, it's cool.
Cheesy moments.
All right. Well, that sound you just heard there, Charles. You didn't actually hear it, but you already know what's happening.
Cheesy moments.
Yeah, that one right there.
Can you do a special one where my voice is the cheesy moments voice?
Yeah, I'll sample that. Or here, do a good take right now.
We're gonna do it.
Ready? I'll do the explosion. You do the cheesy moments. Right?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Cheesy moments.
Okay. People are gonna wonder why it's different until they keep listening.
Yeah, there you go.
So then they'll know.
It'll make sense eventually.
Yeah. So yeah, it's time for the cheesy moments section of the podcast where listeners will send in some cheesy stories involving cheese. It could be negative, positive, funny, sad. Doesn't matter as long as they're cheese related. So if you have it, if you're listening to this now, you're like, wait, I've got a cheesy moment. I didn't know I could send that in. Go ahead, email us at saycheesepodcast@gmail.com. I'll read them right here on the podcast. Don't have any entries to read right now. Some weeks we get them, some weeks we don't. It goes to show how small our fan base is. But when we get them, they're good. I was about to check and see if I got one actually, because I posted something before this. But Charles, do you have one? You have one you want to share? Feel free.
I do, and I feel kind of, this is kind of lame. It's just what popped in my head on the drive over here. But the reason I feel lame is because I was listening to one of your later episodes on the drive over, and it had the story about the World War II cheese that.
Oh yeah, that was such a good cheese.
That Grandpa like held on to for decades,
and then
they finally tried to. And it was like such, it was the longest cheesy moment I think you've had.
I think so,
and it was
but
the
it was
best.
also like the best. Yeah, such a good one.
And this is gonna make mine.
Amber sent that one. I can't remember who sent it. I think it was Amber. Anyways, continue.
I was thinking of mine, and then I heard that one. I was like, oh, mine is so. Well, you'll hear it. It's so LA. Anyway, I used to work at Italy in Century City, which is a big Italian market, and it's also kind of butted up against the Beverly Hills kind of region. Okay. So lots of wealthy people, lots of Hollywood types coming in.
Okay. My type of people.
Yeah. So during the holidays, one year, I was behind the counter and I look up and Cameron Diaz is standing right there. And right around the time I'm getting over the fact that I'm about to sell cheese to Cameron Diaz, I look over and next to her is Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, nice.
So they're both shopping for this holiday party, and I guess it's like a Secret Santa or like a I don't know, gag gift kind of thing, whatever you do. So I ended up selling Cameron Diaz. They want like a comically huge piece of cheese.
Okay, of course.
And so I ended up selling her, I don't know, like a 5-pound chunk of Parmigiano Reggiano.
Oh, nice.
Which
That's
is like
also expensive.
almost an eighth of a wheel.
Cheese too, yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge chunk of cheese.
But it's like, well, you're Cameron Diaz, you'll buy it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I don't know if it was in order to one up her or not, but Jimmy Kimmel goes and buys a 10-pound chunk.
It was totally
Parmigiano Reggiano.
I don't even know.
Well, the funny thing is, Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, I know him from obviously his show, the best, and he's a pretty chill guy as far as a talk show or evening show host goes. But in person, he was like just kind of in sweats, like had a coffee. Was just kind of like chill. He's like, I guess I'm gonna go for the 10-pound chunk.
10-pound piece of
like,
Parmesan Reggiano.
So anyway, I ended up wrapping those up for them. And on a lot of scales in this country, if you end up weighing something that's over a certain amount of weight, it actually won't print out a price tag and a barcode. So I sent them off, and then they came back because it didn't have the barcode on. And this store is huge. Yeah. So anyway, over the next 20 minutes, I ended up sprinting back and forth between Cameron Diaz, Jimmy Kimmel, and the cheese counter, trying to get the price back on this thing so we could ring them up. But they were very nice, and that was it. Cool. That's my cheesy moment.
That's awesome.
But
it's
next,
a good celeb one.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But I mean, next to the grandpa cheese, it just seems. It's very LA. It's very superficial.
Right. There's an episode between these two stories. You're okay. Also, it is like it doubles as a cheesy story, but also a very LA story.
Yeah, it's a very LA thing.
Not a cheesy moment at all, but an LA moment. It's my parents came and visited me for the first time out here in LA. They'd been to LA before, but this was their first time visiting me. Just hung out for a few days. And we went to Kismet Rotisserie, which is where Chad works. He's been on this podcast before for the Rogue River Blue episode.
Shout out to Kismet Rotisserie.
Yeah, shout out to Kismet Rotisserie.
They just opened like last week.
Yeah, so we went there. It was a new opening, and we're in line. We order our food, and then as we get out of line, I notice in the back of the line is Dave Franco. And nice. I mean, it's like everyone in that neighborhood. Like it's kind of a what neighborhood? That's like kind of the
it's Los Feliz.
Los Feliz neighborhood. It's kind of like a low key celeb neighborhood.
Yeah.
Kind of pricey. A lot of celebs live there, but they just like everyone's kind of chill about it, you know?
Yeah, it's not like Beverly Hills.
So I'm sure other people recognize them, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's Dave Franco, whatever.
Yeah.
He's here a lot. It's his neighborhood.
You got to play.
So
cool.
I kind of lean over and I whisper to my mom and said, hey, don't look now, but that's Dave Franco in the back of the line. And she immediately looked now and goes, what? Like my mom is like the type of mom that just reads People magazine all the time. So
Right.
she definitely is like, that's Dave Franco. Oh, that's Dave Franco.
A
like
famous person?
And I could tell she definitely wanted a picture of some sort. And I'm, you know, me, I did that picture with Allison Brie when she came by the
Which was
falafel
genius.
there.
With a piece of brie.
Holding a piece of brie, yeah. So shout out to Reed. Credit owner Reed for the help on that.
Yeah.
Brie tip. Anyways, so I you know, I'm no one to be shame of trying to ask for pictures. So
Right.
I was like, all right, you want a picture real quick? And I was like, she's like, yeah. And she's like getting all like, I was like, oh, you want like a candid of him just in the background? I was like, no, I'm gonna go up to him and ask him. And so, but right when I was about to go up to him and ask him, he just kind of took a turn and started like walking away. So I just took a picture of my mom standing there smiling as Dave Franco walks away from her.
I think she might have blown your cover.
Yeah, no, for sure she did. He was like, I gotta get out of here, this lady.
Man.
But it was fun. Anyways, a great cheesy moment on your end.
Thank you.
Decent celebrity story on my end. But a fun episode so far overall. We crushed this Detroit Street Brick in no time.
Yeah,
and
it's
now
gone,
I wish
by the way.
We had something else to put this jam on because it's really good.
I might just start eating it.
And Charles, I think we'll wrap it up on this episode featuring
Oh.
Detroit Street Brick. Unless you have more things to add.
I
that
did
you wanna
have,
just squeeze in.
when I did the podcast the first time, and after listening to more podcasts, there's always like, you know, at the beginning you ask people like, where'd you grow up? What kind of cheese
Did I
did you
not
grow
do
up?
that for you?
Well, we did it on the first one.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do it again.
Right,
but I've been having like, I didn't talk about this. I didn't talk about this.
Yeah, go ahead, get it all out.
Mainly, I just want to.
Because you're not going to be on for another one.
It's like we here at Say Cheese.
This is your
would like
last
to
one.
apologize for the following correction. Yeah, this is my last one, definitely.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, you know, I think I brought up the craft single thing.
Uh-huh.
Because I did have some craft singles on some burgers growing up.
Yeah.
But I started having these memories about my dad sharing cheese with me that I totally forgot about on the first podcast. And
okay.
so, like, he was the first one to ever give me brie. He also taught me, and this was like, you know, maybe when I was 9, 10, 11, like a little older. Taught me that you eat the rind.
Okay, yeah.
Taught me that you have it at room temperature.
Right. You gotta know how to understand cheese. I
Yeah.
think the last guest
So-
I had, Justin, he was like, when I was a kid, I didn't like it because I didn't understand it.
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
that's such a funny way to say
So
it.
yeah, we had all those things. I ate string cheese. I ate, you know, craft singles, but I also had an adventurous father who would kind of like share these things. And I also have a memory in my early teens of going and visiting my aunt and uncle, and him and my uncle having some drinks and digging in the cheese bin later. And he was the first person that showed me that you can actually scrape mold off a piece of cheese, and it's
and then
fine.
just
I
delete the
think
cheese.
99% of people, if they find mold on their cheese,
Yeah,
they're
they're
probably
like-
going to throw it out.
They're weirded out, yeah.
Clean your cheese, people.
I can't. My mom used to like just do that with bread. A little penicillin never hurt anybody, and just cut the mold off and then give me the bread. I'm like, I don't know, Mom. I think you just
That's
don't.
a little weirder because bread is very porous.
No, I think we were just poor, and
Yeah.
she didn't want to go get more bread.
Yeah, that's probably it. Dude, I'd probably do that now too. If I found a little fleck of mold on a piece of bread and I was about to feed my kid, I'd probably cut it off and feed
Yeah,
it to
I
her.
mean, whatever. It's fine.
I can make a special trip to the store.
Well, that's a good. I mean, that constitutes as a cheesy moment too. The memory of your dad sharing
That's
cheese
true.
with you.
That's
So that
true.
all works
Yeah.
out.
So yeah, shout out to my dad for sharing good cheese with me growing up.
Yeah.
And also putting craft singles on my burgers.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I think that'll wrap it up then on this episode of Detroit Street Brick. I want to thank Ari and Paul and everyone at Zingerman's for their hard work. That's a ton of people, but it takes a ton of people to run that
Tessie
shit.
over at the Creamery.
Tessie over at the Creamery for sending you that information.
Yeah. Hi, Tessie.
Hi, Tessie. Hope you're listening. Also, thank you, DTLA Cheese, for providing the cheese that we ate today. One of the best, one of my favorite cheese shops in Los Angeles because I work
yeah.
there and you work there.
I work
We
there,
both
too.
work there. So come by and say hey to Charles and I. Chances
Please
are
do.
one of us will be there at any time in the week. And yeah, if you're down there and you want to try some Detroit Street Brick, I think we just ate the last piece.
We did.
But we can always get more in, I'm sure, especially if you want it. We can probably convince Lydia to order some more.
I believe we're going to be getting more in.
Yeah, we'll get some more in. Also, like, there's some other cheese Zingerman has, too, that's out there in the world. Lincoln Log is one I liked a lot. It's kind of similar to this.
Yeah.
I don't think that has the crushed peppercorns in it, though.
No, it's like a round version of this without the pepper.
Really delicious. They got tons of stuff. Their cream cheese is what they're really well known for as well.
Yeah. Pimento cheese is really good too.
The pimento cheese too, yeah. Zingerman's is great. So check them out if you're in Ann Arbor area, or find their cheeses probably in a local grocery. They're all over the world. Yeah, thank you, Charles, for being on the podcast today.
You're welcome.
You have anything you want to plug? Any social media accounts or any events that you're doing? I think last time you were about to do a show,
and I forgot where it was.
Yeah, I went though. That was a really good show.
It was a good show.
That was a while back.
Thanks for offering to plug the show.
Yeah.
No shows coming up. I guess you can find me on Instagram at Chuckernaut.
Chuckernaut. Yeah.
CHUCKERKNOT.
You do some funny stories. I like your stories.
Yeah, Well, I have a funny kid, so that's half of it.
Yeah, that's true. She's very ridiculous. Adorably funny. I do some fun stories too. You can find me at Funny as Buck on all platforms, and even on Venmo if you want to send me money, because this podcast doesn't pay itself. But go ahead and follow at Say Cheese Pod on Instagram, as Twitter as well, and come out every Tuesday. We have the the Say Cheese Showcase on the patio at Grand Central Market, where we do a comedy show, but we also are sponsored by DTLA Cheese, so we provide free cheese to audience members as well. And you came out, you had a story about you coming out to that comedy show. We did one, it was like hip hop and comedy a couple Tuesdays ago.
Yeah.
And it just so happened it was like the week before CMI, so a lot of cheese makers were traveling through California, and it was like, what do they call it? Like the Alpine Rushmore. There's a bunch of like...
it's just these heavy hitters from the cheese world that work in Alpine cheeses, so Gruyere and
the Hollerhocker guy.
Yeah, the Hollerhocker guy was
I
there.
briefly met, I shook hands with probably, but I still, didn't pronounce his name right, so he might hate me, who knows.
Yeah.
But you said you went out, and Jazz, she works in the market, is a great musician. She was doing I don't know, I think it was Manus. Anyways, Manus was performing. He was rapping very loudly into the mic.
Yeah, I came out there and someone was, your shows are good and they're never too loud or too raucous, but I came out and this guy was like screaming.
He was screaming too loud into the mic. I couldn't.
He was swallowing the microphone.
I'm working on a small PA system and I was trying to turn the volume down and he was like, turn it up. I was like, no, I need you to not be so loud. I've got the volume. Anyways, it was a little miscommunication on our end. So there was a bit of difficulty, but he was like screaming his raps into the mic, and you look over.
Yeah, and Lydia had brought all of this like the Mount Rushmore of Alpine cheese. Had brought the whole group out onto the deck to feed them and give them a couple beers. And
very white European guys.
Yeah, some of them don't speak English.
They don't speak English, and they just live up in milking cows and making cheese.
Yeah, they don't really leave that environment very often. So the guy that makes Hollerhocker.
And it was Manus was the one rapping. He was on our Calderwood episode. I think it was like episode 3. Yes. So black dude from Vermont just screaming out his raps on the mic, and he just looks over,
I turn around and I'm like, "Where's
Hollerhocker
guy?" And I turn around and this guy. First of all, he's jet lagged and he's like as far away as possible, just looking down at his drink, like his soul has just been obliterated by some culture that he just did not quite get.
That was such a good show, though, man. We had such a great turnout, and it was such a fun time. But it is funny when you see cultural shocks like that. And that's what I love about this show, too, is with Lydia and all the cheese people come through to check the show out. Some even find out about it through the podcast. We have people from, like, Ireland coming, and then you just have the normal customers and audience members coming that live in LA. Then you have, because we're on a patio near a street, sometimes you just get homeless people coming, and they add to the show sometimes.
Yeah. Every time I've come out after getting off work and the show's going on, there's always something going on where I'm like, huh, that's interesting.
It is always
There's always something.
We always have fun with it. So again, I'm plugging that more than I probably should. But every Tuesday at Grand Central Market, I guarantee you something interesting will be happening on that patio. We like to do a good time of lineups. I think our next show, we got Vanessa Gonzalez coming out. She's been on HBO, Comedy Central, and she was on episode 2, Dreamweaver. We like to build a community here with cheese. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take a picture for this podcast. And by that, I mean I'll just grab a still from the camera that we do now, because you can watch this on YouTube now.
All right.
So we'll just lean in. On the count of 3, I'll say cheese. 1, 2, 3.